Minutes past 6 now. Well, there's been good news for Flybe. The rescue deal has angered some of its rivals and raised questions about whether the government should have got involved. Dominic has the business news. Morning, Dom.
Good morning. Well, Willie Walsh, the chief executive of IAG, the owner of British Airways, definitely thinks they shouldn't have got involved. I've seen a letter he sent to the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, in which he calls the bailout a misuse of public funds and says that Flybe shareholders have the resources to keep the company running if they want to. Also this morning we'll be talking about the trade deal between America and China and its effect on the US economy. That's going to be signed today, actually. And BlackRock's intervention on climate change. But first, Flybe. Matthew Lesh is head of research at the free market think tank, the Adam Smith Institute. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
I think I know your answer to this to this question already. Do you think the government should have got involved?
Oh, I don't think they should have. And I think we should be extremely uncomfortable when big business and big government get in the room to effectively conspire about how they're going to use taxpayer money to save a single business. Let's take the case of the airline passenger duty. There might be reasons to reform it, but again, it just doesn't seem right to do it to save a single struggling business. There's something a small business can't march up to Treasury and ask for these kind of special benefits. I don't think a big business should be able to either.
You might have a sort of a theoretical objection to the use of taxpayer funds to help a private company, but the outcome, though, is one to be desired, isn't it? You save 2,000 jobs, and as the government said, you keep these pretty important regional airline routes open, which otherwise probably would have closed.
Look, it's absolutely good news in the short run for those involved. But I think we have to have some broader tolerance that in order for our system to work, businesses actually do need to sometimes be able to fail. We can't just be subsidising them because we need to be able to free people up for other uses. I'd also say that this is quite contradictory with the government's other priorities. If the government wants to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense to be effectively trying to subsidise or provide tax benefits to help short-haul travel.
Well, in the statements last night also, the government said it would reform air passenger duty, presumably reduce air passenger duty on domestic flights, but also do it in a way that kept to its carbon emission targets. Can you square that circle?
It seems absolutely contradictory, and I'm not sure how the government intends to do that in all these kind of contexts. And I think I'd also actually like to see the details of the agreement that's been reached. We actually don't know the full commitment that the government's made to Flybe, and I think even just from a transparency perspective, we should have every right to know that information.
It is a common thing, isn't it, that sometimes big businesses are very keen on talking about the free market, talking about competition and so forth. But when it comes to the crunch, they're very happy to find public subsidy.
Well, I think we know businesses are always going to seek out subsidies for their own benefits and regulations that are going to benefit their particular situation in the market. And I think it's the responsibility of government to be on the side of consumers and the people in the broad, not just the narrow interests of a particular business or a particular industry.
This is a one-off case, but do you detect, I mean, we've had the price caps on energy price, on fuel bills. We've had some intervention from the Financial Conduct Authority on interest rates, the amount of interest rates charged on easy access accounts. Do you detect in all this perhaps a more interventionist role from regulators and government than we have had in the UK for, well, certainly the last 20 years?
I think there's certainly a creeping sense in which the government feels a need to intervene. I was reassured yesterday by some of Boris's comments when he said the remark, "It's not for government to step in and save companies that simply run into trouble." I think they just have to stay true to that principle, that a government isn't there to subsidise failing businesses that can't attract customers that want to buy their products.
And it's probably worth noting, isn't it, that Flybe just hasn't run into trouble out of the blue. It's been running into trouble very periodically over the last 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely, and Flybe was purchased at quite a bargain basement price, less than £3 million, just a year ago by a consortium including Virgin and Delta, which is a huge multinational airline with big money behind it. I do worry that we give them some money today and then they come back begging for more in future because they're running ultimately either as a business that's not sustainable or structurally in an industry that's not particularly sustainable and doesn't necessarily need government bailouts. Ultimately, I think if we really want to subsidise regional routes, you can probably actually specifically subsidise those routes. Again, contradictory with environmental goals, but you could focus on actually consumer-based subsidies rather than subsidising a particular business and giving them special advantages.
Thank you very much.